You're listening to The Big Conversation.
Brought to you by the Cheshire and Merseyside Resilience Hub.
Joined by special guest, Michelle Beaver.
On today's episode, we're joined by a fitness fanatic and yes guru, Michelle Beaver. Michelle is a cardiac nurse from Liverpool Heart and Chest Hospital, and Michelle's joining us today to talk about the power of saying yes. Hello, Michelle. Lovely to see you. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, yeah, I'm good. We're plodding along, living the dream. Brill, so let's get to it then. Why don't you tell our listeners who you are and give a bit of an introduction about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Michelle. I turned 50 this year, which is my big number, and I'm celebrating 30 years in nursing at the same time. I'm married with 3 grown-up children now, which is quite sad. I've got no little toddlers about. And yeah, just enjoying life, just getting on with things, really.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Congratulations on one turning 50, but also the amount of service you've done for the NHS. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. I've loved every minute of it.
I think it's been a journey. It's always is a journey, isn't it? And it's so rewarding because you're giving back to people at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Brill. I think I originally came across from you on Twitter. I was scouring the internet, doing all our communication stuff, and I came across you, and it was really informative because I sat there and I thought, oh, some of the content that I was looking at, I was like, it was actually quite inspiring to others, is this? And other people could take that and run with it and do what they would, if you would. But so you've been doing a thing called Fitness Friday for a while now. What's that about?
Fitness Friday actually started 50 weeks ago. I'm going to be celebrating 1 year in a couple of weeks. And it came about really because, like yourself, the chief executive of the hospital actually came across me on Twitter, although she saw me in work a little bit.
Yeah.
But I never think that, people recognise people in work. And she came across me, first of all, one Christmas Day and said, weren't you working last Christmas? And then I joked about Twitter and I'd seen her on Twitter. And then the next thing, she came across me when I was walking into work one day and she said, I've been thinking about you. And I was a bit like, ooh, what have I done?
Yeah.
And she said, I'd love to have a catch up for a chat about your fitness that you put on Twitter. I want to know more about it. And I've got an idea to put to you. So I was like, oh, okay. So she said, let's meet for a drink. So I was like, ooh, Prosecco. And she said, no, a cup of tea will be fine. So she swapped numbers and I got in touch with her and I went over to meet her and not with a bottle of Prosecco, but with a cup of tea. And she put it to me really to say that, she found me really inspiring, like yourself had just said, on Twitter. And she wanted to try and get other people involved too, across, because lockdown had happened and everyone had gone a little bit slower with everything going on. And it was just like, let's get people moving again. So she said, how do you fancy doing either a monthly blog, a fortnightly blog, a weekly blog? And I was like, well, weekly is good because I'm always doing some kind of exercise. And, I've got a lot to say to people if they want to hear it. And so really it came about that. So I made a meeting with corporate comms and said, right, this is what Jane Tompkinson wants to do. What do you reckon? They said, well, if she wants to do it, then let's do it. And so I send my blog in like a day or two before it's put out there of what I've done in the week, really, with a photo or something.
So what is Fitness Friday then?
Well, what they came up with that name, which I thought was really clever for fitness and fitness.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. So it's just a blog to say what I've done that week regarding fitness and why I've done it and how it's made me feel. And I've sort of got into the gist of it a little bit more as the years gone on, and I've sort of put it out there going, well, what are you doing? Leaving a little message at the end saying to what are you going to do this week, or hashtag Fitness Friday. Let's try and get something going on Twitter and just
it's influencing, isn't it? It's not saying to people, not like directly, what are you doing? It's okay, well, if Michelle's doing it, I want to do this.
Yeah, and I have found that, and it's been just lovely because, like, people I don't know in the hospital, I'm really rubbish with people's names and sometimes faces, and I've got to imagine them in a uniform to see where I know them from. Is it Tesco? Is it the hospital? And like I was walking into ITU one day, and one of the nurses said, "Oh, that's right. I was asking for a hoist for a patient." And one of the nurses said, well, why would you need a hoist? You're the fit nurse. And I was like, oh, I've been recognised, and I was so made up.
Internal celebrity, that's it.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, just touching on that, I think for me, coming across you on Twitter, like so, we're obviously the Resilience Hub. We work with a lot of partners, so I'm continuously trying to link in with people. Say, hey, this is what we do, this sort of stuff. And I saw your stuff, and I thought that's actually really quite interesting because there's a lot of stuff. What we do as people, as organisations, you put general comms, this, and I thought, well, what a great format this is, because in my head I got it straight away of fitness, and I think, well, essentially, you are the fittest nurse, then, aren't you? It's
Well, I wouldn't put that. I mean, my body doesn't show it, but my head maybe.
well, this is the thing. It's the
It's a
mentality
normal
behind it.
person. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, but it's also quite inspiring, really, because I'm absolutely not the type of gym or any type of fitness regime, and I know I should be, um, but it's that aspect of getting involved in it, isn't it? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I lose interest really, really simply and really easily, unless it really interests me, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that again. I want to do it again, and that feel good factor. So what made you want to carry this on?
Um, in general, just like motivating people and getting a bit of feedback was a help to think, oh, okay, so someone's reading it somewhere out there and
Yeah,
they're getting something from it. And like, I had a home help for a little bit because I don't like cleaning, to be honest. So I have a cleaner every now and then. And she was a few months in and she'd seen my things that I'd put on social media about my fitness, and she said, by the way, do you think I look all right? So I said, of course you look all right. What do you mean? She goes, I've lost a couple of stone. I've been reading your things and I've thought, like, I'm going to do this. And she'd lost a couple. And I was a bit like, oh, wow. So it's not just the hospital, it's me.
yeah,
And then the community that I'm in, they've sent me an email saying, will you do a blog for us as well? So now I'm doing like a couple of blogs for different community areas. And that's going out weekly as well. So people in the street are seeing me, and it's a bit
yeah,
odd. I'm getting recognized, but the reason I'm carrying on is not just for the recognition. It's because I absolutely love it. And
yeah,
sounds a bit corny. I was born to help people. I was born to do this. And
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with bigging yourself up because it
No,
is I feel it is my ability. What's the word? My thing.
your destiny.
My destiny. Some people are great at accounting, some people are great at politics. This is
Yeah,
my thing and this is what I love, and why not dwell on it?
I think that is exactly you just summed it up for me. When people say what do you do, I do everything. So I knew at a younger age I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how I wanted to help people. I didn't know
Yeah,
what I wanted to help them with, but I just wanted to help. And I think it's within our sector, for example, we work in a responsive sector, so you're constantly on the go, you're constantly doing something. There's never a dull day, there's no 2 days
yeah,
of the same type of thing. So it's also kind of good to have some sort of, like, say, stress release and let everything go. That day is built up and it's so bad and stressful. Let it go, just focus on that thing, what you're doing, as in, is it the gym, is it a walk, is it running, or that sort of, and just general health and well-being overall, isn't it? I think
that's it.
that's the point for you, and it's quite admirable. Like I just mentioned there, I'm really not into fitness. I used to be into spinning. I used to love going spinning all the time, but then trying to fit certain stuff in at certain times, because the timed classes, oh, I can't make that, I'll be 20 minutes late. So then you think, oh, the next one's not till 3 days, and then you start to slip out of what was your routine.
That's it. Yeah.
Um, well, from your point of view, what's been, say, the best thing about getting involved in fitness?
It's pretty much been about how it makes me feel, physically and mentally. It's not selfish to occasionally think, put yourself as number one, because if you're not number one, then what you give out there isn't number
Yeah,
one either. And my parents died young, and I don't want to die young. They weren't mega fit. I mean, my father had a hereditary condition that eventually got him. And my mum died of cancer, but she wasn't healthy living.
yeah,
And then I just thought I need to get fit. This was when I was around about 40. I was like getting into like, let's do fitness. Let's get a little bit trimmer, a little bit better, not sweating the minute I walk somewhere, just, healthier sort of thing.
yeah.
Um,
I think
you know,
it's, do you
just
know,
trying to, Trying to
that's
think where I'm up to. Sorry.
no, no, you're okay. I think, like you say, so like you've, I know you've done lots of stuff, lots of projects, lots of well, support projects that you've done along the way, such like abseiling and cycling in Spain. And it's when we talk about Fitness Friday, it's not just you going to a gym on a treadmill. It's you getting involved in quite a lot of things, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
could be weights, it could be abseiling, it could be going for a walk, cycling. What's some of the stuff that you've done within this
Well,
little journey?
yeah. So I mean, it started when my auntie died in a hospice in Marie Curie, and that's when my head started thinking, I'm out of control. I don't know how to. I've never dealt with something like this. I mean, I dealt with my father dying, but I had children and I got married, and everything was on a general thing, and so I was focused on those things as well as grieving. So when my auntie died, it was the first person that I thought, oh my God, this is real life now. And I decided to trek the Great Wall of China because I didn't want to go on a plane journey by myself, and I didn't want to. I was scared of new culture, new food, new language. I was just like, just do it. And
Yeah.
that was 2012. So I got trekked the Great Wall of China, met total new people, um, found that who I was a little bit because I'd literally gone from nursing to getting married to children and I didn't really find me, if that makes
Is it?
sense.
I think life become a very linear process, isn't it?
Yeah,
By the time you're at this age, you need to have achieved this, and it's very socially thrusted upon people. You need to have done this by the time you're 30. You need this, and
yeah,
that's it.
that's
And
it.
like you say about finding yourself there, I think in today's day and age, for example, if you look at kids, for example, young kids with tablets and phones, which is great and gets the stimulus going within the mind, but at the same time they lose that social aspect of it, and
That's
it's
it.
kind of like the today's kids are tomorrow's generation. So it's
That's it.
kind of saying to people like, look, you can do this, you can do whatever else type of thing. And I
Yeah.
think just what you're saying there about chucking, like it's chucking yourself in at the deep end, isn't it?
It is. And when I came back, I wanted to do it again. So I booked
Yeah.
Sri Lanka, and then I wanted to do it again. So I booked camping in the Grand Canyon, and then I thought I'll never do the altitude. So I booked Kilimanjaro, which is altitude, And then I did the Himalayas, and it's literally gone. And then
Step by step.
2020 came along.
Well, I think if
So,
if we look at it in terms of say 2012, that was the year of the Olympics, wasn't it?
yeah.
And it was out on home turf. And in my head, and when I watch any type of sport, big sporting event like that, I'm always thinking, I want to go swimming, I want to go gymnastics, I want to do that. And it's getting yourself in that mindset to say you're free to go to that. You can do whatever you want,
Yeah,
type
you
thing.
don't have to be an athlete, do you? You just have to have
No,
a try, have a
yeah,
go, do the best that you can do.
yeah,
We're not asking for Olympians, but it
yeah.
just helps you.
Well, I think it's quite understandable, and in terms of aspects, and it's ultimately about saying yes, and it's giving yourself permission to say yes, you can do that. I think as British people, we love say Britishisms, and that is like, oh, I'm going to the gym. Do you fancy coming? Instead of just giving a straight answer. And you don't owe people a response, but in terms of that, we tend to go, no, because I've got this, or I've got that, I've got that. Or if we don't do that, what we do is like use a Britishism and it's like, well, we'll see at the time.
Yeah,
And you know that's a no, but it's kind
yeah,
of a polite way of saying no, isn't it? I
yeah.
think so everything that you've listed there, from the altitude to cycling to getting involved in, say, just general fitness, what made you say yes? I know you talked about you needed to change because of your auntie, for example. That was the
Yeah.
start point. But what's made you said yes to all of these things as you've gone along?
I think it's the way exercise makes you feel, really.
Yeah.
You have to take a risk to this term this year. I want to copyright it, to be fair, which is it isn't a challenge unless it's challenging, and that's totally it. Why sail through life and not try things and miss out on things? I mean, there was an opportunity. I went some volunteering for a few different charities, and one of them is the hospice where I mentioned. And I popped in one morning, and one of the people who work there, who got to know me, said, "Are you coming back this afternoon?" So I said, "No, I'll do this. What I'm doing now." So she goes, "Michelle, I promise you, come back this afternoon. I can't tell you why, but please do." So I was like, "Okay, yes." And I came back, and Prince Charles was visiting as a surprise. So she wanted me to get a chance to meet him,
Oh,
which I
wow.
did, and I got to shake his hand and have a chat, and it was amazing. Um, Another time there was a appeal out for loose women in the audience, come in the audience, and I thought, well, one of my challenges is to do press ups at the top of every mountain, and then I'd started to do press ups in every weird circumstance. So I did it. I got in the end. I got to Buckingham Palace to meet Prince Charles again. That's another story. But I got to do.
Oh,
I got to chat with one of the loose women warm up guys, and I said, "Can I do some press ups in the loose women studio just by the sign?" So he said, "Yeah, sure. Give me a nod on the day." So I saw him and he goes, "You're the press up girl." I was like, "Yeah." So he said, "Right, give me a second." So in the advert break, he said, "Right, Michelle's here to do press ups." And I was like, "Oh God," in front of everybody. And then one of the loose women, Nadia Sawala, got up and said, "I've never done a press up. Can I do it with you?" So I was like, "Yeah." So all these yeses is such like a absolute one-off opportunity that will never happen again in life. So
oh,
there I am
absolutely.
doing press ups with Nadia Sawala, press ups in Buckingham Palace courtyard, and
Yeah.
saying yeah. And then I appeared on Tipping Points game show,
Oh.
and it's just you've got to say yes to everything unless it's dangerous. you
Yeah,
know.
well, I mean, even though if it's dangerous, you can still say yes, but
Well,
have it
yeah,
in a controlled way. I
yeah,
think I totally understand you with that saying yes aspect because very much like you, both my parents died of cancer, and I was, well, it was what was 8 years ago or something,
yeah,
and then I thought, well, I'm just living to work. I'm just doing like getting up, going to work type thing. So my friend, I'm very stubborn. So if you say to me this, and I reply yes, I will do it. I'm going to do it type of thing. And my friend was just having a general conversation. Said, "Oh, he's going traveling." I said, "Oh, do you know, I'd love to come and join you." He went, "Well, don't say you're going to go and not go then." And then, oh, I got my back up then. So I was like, right. So I sold everything that I had. I went, I sold my mattress. I sold everything that I even owned physically. And I went traveling off to Australia on my own, saved
wow,
enough money
brilliant,
up. And basically, I was chasing my best friend because when I got to Sydney, he'd then moved to Melbourne. When I got to Melbourne, he was then doing foreign work. But we never actually met whilst we were there in Australia. And
mm,
and that gave me the power just to say yes to stuff and
yeah,
actually
that's it,
go traveling on your own, do stuff by yourself, and learn new things. Um, and I think, like you just said there, it's about setting goals and extending your boundary range, if you would.
yeah,
Like I mentioned, I'm not particularly engaged with fitness. I like it and I can get involved with it, but it has to be right for me. Like I like to do a big 10 mile walk, for example, when I feel a little bit restless or I've been on the sofa too long. Like, right, get up, get out, because it grounds me and it allows me to cut off from the real world. For example, like doom scrolling or watching the news, which is continuously negative. And I think for me, that's my yes, that's my get up and go. Um, so as a yes person then, and that is the nicest way possible, and a fitness fanatic, what's your biggest suggestion for people who want to do stuff like this themselves, but have a wall or met with their own wall of boundaries?
um anyone can exercise, literally anyone. It doesn't matter what ability, disability, anything. You can. So there was a friend who said that she can walk around the park but couldn't possibly run. So I said, "Well, do you fast walk around the park?" And she said, "Yes." So I said, "So really, jogging is actually a bit slower than fast walking sometime. So why don't you try a little jog?" And now she's, doing 10 kilometers, every week or something. There's
This is it.
any, and apart from that, if you can't run, you can sit on the couch and watch Coronation Street with a couple of bottles of water in your hands and just lift them up, or
Yeah,
up and down. You can lift your child up and down. You can do a few squats if you
I
really want
was.
while you're watching telly. If you've got a staircase, you can go up and down one step and maybe hold the bottles or a sack of potatoes. Not sack, that's really old and fashioned, but a bag of
But still,
potatoes.
yeah,
you know,
it's
maybe two potatoes to start with, but you'll get that buzz that, oh my
yeah,
God, last week I couldn't even do one bottle of water. Now I'm holding four.
yeah,
I'm still in
absolutely.
the house, you
It's
know.
about pushing yourself. I know I
Yeah.
it's little things like that. For example, I went shopping the other day and I needed to get some screen wash for my car. But I had the big bottle of screen wash, but I also had milk. and I put them both in the same hand. And as I was going up, I was like, oh, I'll just do 8 reps with that. And I was like, oh, I got in. I was like, oh, actually, I felt that. And that was just the smallest of littlest things coming back to my appointment from my car. Not even 5 minutes worth of work. But I was like, oh,
Yeah.
actually, felt that a little bit. And because you work muscles that you don't usually use.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
most people say to me, "Well, how do you do the press ups? Because that's impossible." And I say, "Well,
yeah,
you can stand against the wall and push up and down, and then you can go on your knees and do that, and then
yeah,
eventually you get the press up out, and they'll be like, 'Oh my God, wow!'
it takes time, but
Anyone
you'll
can
get
do
there.
it. Yeah,
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 I think it's amazing though the way the way your mindset is on just saying yes, just say yes, just get involved in it. Yeah, okay, let's do it.
yeah,
And I think it's great that the way your mentality is about pushing yourself, because not only have you pushed yourself to start new things, but you've also say raised humongous amounts of funds for a range of charities too. And that within itself is an achievement because not only you're doing good for others at the same time, but you're doing good for yourself. And
yeah.
it's not that feel good feeling, but I mean mentally and stimulating your brain to actually do some good for yourself at the same time. What would be then your biggest dream for pushing yourself going forward?
So this is hard because I never really look too far forward because I'm a bit of a morbid person and I never want to
Yeah,
jinx it. But I do know I want to do the Canadian Rockies at some point.
yeah,
And I'm quite basic, really. I only think I scroll through different websites and see what grabs me. And so
yeah.
far, Canadian Rockies has grabbed me. Maybe
Well,
Machu Picchu, I'm not sure.
well, that's
But
I mean,
pretty much, my kids are like leaving at the leaving home stage, and I just want to see them happy, settled,
yeah,
with a partner, with or without a partner, whatever, but just happy. So
yeah.
I'm at that stage where it's like, let's
Feel
just
like
get
go
them
kart.
there.
Yeah. No, no, I totally get you. And I like, I get how your mindset works because even just this conversation, I'm sat there going, you need to do more. And then not you as in me, I mean, so it's kind of like I need to get out there and thought, right, I'm going to go for a big walk tonight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something different type of thing. Um, and I think people could also take a leaf out of your book and say, just let go. Um,
Yes.
and it's from a person's point of view who's I like to be busy, so I like to be continuously doing stuff all the time, and I'm all right with my own company, but as long as I'm doing something, there's days say when I go on holiday I could be beside the pool and I get restless and I'm like, right, just go for a walk or do something. And it's about making time for yourself and also to be comfortable with what you're doing. Some stuff might be for you and some definitely won't, but that's okay. You don't need to be a master of everything. um and what I've done is saying about yes, for example, during COVID, at the end of COVID, I say end of COVID, when lockdowns released type thing, I started to say yes to things, stuff I wouldn't usually normally do. And then what I decided to do for me was say yes to pushing my boundaries. Actually getting involved in a lot of different stuff, meeting new people. But there's two things. It's just general life, isn't it? I think for me, I'm either full of beans or I'm run down. There's no in the middle. And I think taking the smallest of steps to integrate myself in a range of all, like just general self care into my own routine is um, a thing that I want to strive towards. Um, like going to the gym, for example, you wouldn't go to the gym and start lifting 150 pounds on a weight. You'd
Yeah.
start with small, you start small and you build upwards. Um, but it's also kind of changing your mentality at the same time. Says, oh, I've got to go to the gym tonight. Oh, but actually go, yes. Do you know what? I get this reward now. I get to go to the gym.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
it's changed the way you think as well. So we talked about the dream then, and you said about the Canadian Rockies. What other things have you got on in the pipeline at the moment?
Um, so a few things really. So this year I mentioned it was my 50th, and I decided in January to do 12 months of challenges. So every month a new challenge, raising funds for three different charities that have been close to me over the last few years.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, it's included like every day 5 kilometer rowing because I've got a little rower and treadmill at home.
Okay.
So 5 kilometer rowing every day, and then 5 kilometer running every day was a different month, which could be outside or inside, whichever, depending
Yeah.
on weather. I've
You're
also
still
got,
running.
yeah, well, yeah, I am. I've been to the gym this morning, hence the red face still. It doesn't leave me.
Yeah.
I'm
It's just you
also
now.
Yeah. Over the last few years, I've been involved with this Facebook group, which is a few fitness people all together from all over the world, and they're all like, not little dolly birds. They're
Yeah,
all
yeah.
ages and all fitness levels. And we inspire each other by counting what we've done every single time we do exercise. We post it on there. So I'm meeting up with them in Wales to do some walking in September. And then the end of September, I'm cycling in Mallorca. The mountains of Mallorca, which I've done once before, and it's awful. It's so hard.
But
um,
it's a challenge, isn't it?
but it's a
You've
challenge.
managed
It's
to have
not
a
meant to be
challenge.
easy, you see. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. If it was easy, nobody would do it. That's
Exactly.
the mindset. I think it's really admirable, to be honest, because within that itself, there's so many huge challenges just to say yes and to
Yeah.
actively want to do them things is another. So yeah, I take my hat off to you. I think for our listeners, if you could recommend one thing in general to people about the importance of saying yes or setting challenges to themselves, what would you say?
Um, just do it. Why are you shy? Why are you worried? What are you worried about? Who are you going to make feel embarrassed apart from yourself? And what is the point? Because we get one chance in life, and like we've said, life is short because of our parents. Who knows what's going to happen to me when I cross the road later? Hopefully, I'll be all right and I'll get to the other side. But no one knows. Yeah, exactly. Touch everything. Um, you've just got to say it. Just say yes. Just go for it. I've put myself in embarrassing situations, and my kids have gone, no, mum, don't do that. And I was like, but, look what we've achieved from doing this, that, and the other, A funny story as well. I worked for a volunteer for a charity who needed a speaker for their coffee morning. And I said, leave it with me. I was sort of the young one on the committee. And I said, leave it with me, trust me. And they were like, oh, we've all been here in this committee 20 years and we don't know if you trust
Yeah,
you. And I said, just leave it with me and I'll come to the next meeting with somebody famous. So I'm walking around Tesco one day and I saw this celebrity who I wouldn't usually bump into. And I said to my son, listen, I'm just going to be a bit embarrassing, but just hang on. And he was like, no, mum, don't. And I said,
yeah,
I'm just going to ask her a question. So I asked this person a question. I said, will you be a speaker at my charity coffee morning? It's local. And she was like, you know what? Yes. And I was like, and she was fantastic. And it's just about just getting things done, getting it. Yes.
yeah.
That's it.
Do you know that mindset there? So you say about supermarkets and celebrities. So I live in Manchester, and obviously you've got the Corrie set, you've got Media City, and then I've seen a few people who I'm like, oh, you'd be great for this, but
Yeah.
then it's that approaching aspect, and I think obviously that level of privacy, I'm like, oh, I can't do it. But I think in terms of you just saying yes concept for me. I live by like a 5 second rule. So I've got to do this, I've got to do this. So I'm like, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm up. And then
Yeah.
it's getting up like, oh, I'll do it in 20 minutes. I'll do it. No, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you're up, you're like, right, come on, do it.
Yeah.
Get it done,
Don't give yourself
sorted.
time to think.
That's it. That 5 second, because usually we love talking ourselves out of stuff. We love saying, oh yeah, yeah. Well, actually, what if it rains? Oh, the weather's not. Oh, it's going to be, and so on and so on. So yeah, no, I love it, Michelle. That's amazing. You've been a fantastic co-host, but unfortunately, we've run out of time. Your personality is so infectious, by the way. I'm sat here thinking, yeah, do you know what? Let's do it. Let's do something.
Good.
And it's great to talk to you about your journey into saying yes and actually pushing yourself. So thank you for taking the time out to talk to us today and tell us about the importance of it and your journey. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners before we head off?
Just keep making each other smile. Just keep listening to each other. Listen without, it's not a how are you? Okay, let's carry on. It's a how are you?
How
You
are you
know,
really?
how are you?
Yeah,
And listen and smile. And even if you pass a stranger in the street, smile at them. And it might be the first smile they've had in the day.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Well, for those of you who are new here or don't know, we're the Cheshire and Merseyside Resilience Hub, and we provide support to staff members in the NHS, social care, and emergency services. You can check the link in our bio and our website information is there. But until next time, be good, and if you can't be good, be safe.
Resilience is strength. Let us help you find yours.